Big LEZ'S League, an all rugby league experience. Hello, welcome back to Big LEZ'S League, an all rugby league experience. I'm your host, Big Les. Make sure to go ahead and click down below, subscribe, become a part of the Big LEZ'S League community. But welcome to another Origin side reaction. We're going to be going through the 17s for each side, Queensland and New South Wales. And then we'll go through, I guess, the changes, the key ins, the key outs, and what we can look for here going into game two. All the technical stuff we'll save for the preview. I think in the first one we did an hour episode going through the ins and outs of each of the squads. For this one, we're going to keep it nice and simple. We're going to react to the sides just like we do on Team List Wednesday, and obviously go through all the changes and what, as I said, what this could look like for Queensland and New South Wales without giving too much away for the preview. But let's start off with Queensland because there's definitely a lot more to talk about here with Queensland. We always start with New South Wales because they're the best, but I'm going to go by the logic first, the worst, second, the best here. We'll start off with Queensland. KP fullback. We've got Xavier Coates and Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow named on the wings. Toya and Val Holmes named in the centres. You got Munster Munster and Dearden in the halves. You've got Fodawaker and Tino Fa'asuamaleaui in the front row. Harry Grant at hooker. You got Ruben Cotter and Kurt Capewell in the back row. Trent Liero starts at 13. And then you got Kurt Mann, Lindsay Collins, Jeremiah Nanai, and Paddy Carrigan on the bench. Your reserves are Ezra Mam, Jack Howarth, and Corey Horsburgh. Let's get stuck into the big one. The first one, no DCE. Tom Dearden comes in to halfback. I think this was a move they should have probably gone for in game one and just backed themselves a little bit more. Dearden's utility value isn't really the best. He can only really come on in two different roles. If there's an injury in the halves, he comes on. Otherwise, he's going to come on in a bit of a roaming capacity. I don't back him too much at 9. I think that when he sort of started to roam and run the footy a little bit more, that's when he looked at his best. Moving him into that halfback jersey frees him up to do that and to take risks to run the side a little bit. I would have liked DCE in the squad to mentor him into that halfback role and into that transition, but I think that he'll be able to do it. I think he'll be able to back himself. I think he'll be playing a game of 2 6s here. You'll get two guys taking risks. KP as well, taking risks. They loved to spread the ball in game one. I think they're going to be doing the similar thing in game two, play that real similar style. So KP, Munster, Dearden, I expect them to play very expansive footy, and they've got the side almost to suit that as well. I could expect a few changes maybe in the pack, but obviously we'll have a chat about that in a second. But yeah, Dearden in the halfback jersey. Is it a little bit harsh on DCE? Yes, it is. But look, I think DCE's done enough in Origin where he can hold his head high, not playing in this one. And I think that you'd be confident enough in Dearden to get the job done, in my opinion at least, not being a Queenslander. Other points we've got written down here, obviously Kurt Capewell, the guy that Billy Slater always seems to pick at some stage throughout the last few series. Kurt Capewell comes into the starting back row. You'd think that it'd be left side with Ruben Cotter on the right side. I don't mind it necessarily. I don't think this is what the side's going to look like by kickoff. I think this is real mind game stuff from Billy Slater. Again, could be reading into it a little bit too much, but I do think that the side could look a bit different, and this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that we see Kurt Capewell go to the bench. I think we'll see Nanai start at left back row. I think that we might see Mo Fodawaker drop to the bench with Lindsay Collins starting, or Paddy Carrigan actually starting in the front row. I just think that with Mo Fodawaker, you're getting an absolute animal that will have a little bit more impact off the bench. Starting in game one wasn't really the best. So I'd have him coming off the bench. I think that you will see a few different changes. I also think in regards to the mind games, I think that the Hammer and Holmes switching is trying to play with New South Wales heads a little bit. I think that you will see those guys go straight back to where they were going into games from what they were in game one to obviously what they'll be in game two. I think they'll swap back. By kickoff, I think you'll see Holmes go back out to the wing and Hammer sit at centre. I think it is literally just mind games, trying to throw New South Wales off with a bit of a weird change that doesn't make too much sense, and then they'll swap it back just before kickoff. I think, I'm 50-50 on Cotter and whether he starts or not. I think that Capel will be the guy to move to the bench. But with Cotter, the leg speed that you get coming off the bench, I think that he'd be much better in that sort of role. Trent Liero, I called for him to start, obviously in the review of the last game in game 1, and obviously going into that little leaked side reaction on the Spotify and Apple podcast. Go ahead and have a look at that. We got the sides basically 24 hours beforehand, before they were released. But yeah, we called for Trent Liero to start, and I think that Trent Liero starting is a lot more effective. He just doesn't really provide much off the bench. He can be that link man. He just allows Paddy Carrigan to just play a very simple role. I think club footy and origin footy for Paddy Carrigan are very different. For Paddy Carrigan, moving him back to 13 freed him up at Clubland and just allowed him to just sort of play his game, have a little bit of ball playing, but, playing that natural Paddy Carrigan style of footy. Whereas in origin, I think that at 13, he can sometimes overcomplicate his role. Going into the front row for Paddy Carrigan, I think will suit him well because he gets to really simplify his role, focus on his running game, and Trent Liero can be that link man. I think Trent Liero will play decent minutes in this one. I think he'll get at least 45 out. I'm thinking that we do see Trent Liero play some pretty decent minutes in this game as that link man. Defensively, he's solid. As I said, with Trent Liero, you sort of get an 8 out of 10 every single week, 7 to 8 out of 10 every single week. Rarely does he have a 4 or 5. It's usually a 6, 7, 8 out of 10 sort of performance. Very, very consistent in that regard at Trent Liero. So I think that that's what Billy Slater is looking for here. Also, Billy Slater's had a lot to do with Trent Liero and sees a lot of things that maybe we don't see as well. So keen to see if he has a big performance here starting in Origin. It's a big call to make, but keen to see if he's up to it there. Big Trent Liero in the 13 jersey. Not playing Corey Horsburgh in the 17 is a big one for me. They've had him in jersey 20 going into this game. I would be having him on the bench. I'd probably be doing it at the expense of a Mo Fodawaker. I just think in game 1 he wasn't very effective. You basically, the definition of insanity is trying the same thing again and again and again, knowing that it won't work. Mo Fodawaker starting in Origin, I just don't think it does work. I think that, yes, he provides a lot of experience. He can be good, but I just think in this one, especially looking back at game 1 and the performance that he had, plenty of errors in that second stint. Maybe I'm being a little bit too hypercritical there of Mo Fodawaker, but I just think getting a younger guy in Corey Horsburgh who has a lot more to offer and a much higher ceiling than a Mo Fodawaker, who can come on in a few different roles, allows Ruben Cotter to sort of move into the middle there as well. Jeremiah Nana does that, but Corey Horsburgh, if there's injuries, he can slot into a number of roles in the pack, and he'll do everything at a high click and at a high intensity. So Corey Horsburgh is a guy that I would have in the 17. He is just an absolute animal, and he personifies what the Maroons are trying to get out of their pack. So I'd be having him in there. The fact that he's in the reserves, and you've got guys like Collins, who's a lot older, and Mo Fodawaker, who's a lot older, and haven't been playing the best footy compared to some of these other guys in there. It is a little bit confusing, but look, I mean, Queenslanders, you've got to back Billy here. Maybe he sees something again that we don't. But yeah, I'd be having Corey Horsburgh there in the 17, that's for sure. Jai Arrow, again, another guy that would have been great to have in this side as well. I'd be bringing in Jai Arrow over a Kurt Capewell as well. I just feel like Kurt Capewell slowed down a little bit. I mean, he's had a great 2025 to start, but he has slowed down a little bit from what he was when he was at the Sharks. I think that Jai Arrow, what you get from him defensively, Kurt Capewell's currently got the highest amount of missed tackles in the game at the moment. 75 missed tackles across how many games? 15 games. I just wouldn't take that risk of Kurt Capewell. I think that New South Wales are going to target him as well. I almost think, again, this is probably a mind games thing, and again, maybe I'm reading too much into this. You have got Jack Howarth there in jersey 19. You got Nanai there. Maybe there is a late change in Corey Horsburgh or Howarth go into the 17. Kurt Capewell drops out to the reserves. I just don't think Billy will do that. I think Billy loves Kurt Capewell and what he's about. And I think he'll take that spot, but definitely something to consider there with looking at this team list. Again, could be reading a little bit too far into it. What have we got here? As well? Kurt Mann in jersey 14. Really, really like that move. I love Kurt Mann and everything that he's about. We've been calling for this for the past 2 years, really, Kurt Mann, since he's gone to the Dogs. He's been exceptional there at 13. He can play every single position. He's basically the Connor Watson for Queensland. Just a real exceptional player that can play a number of roles for you. Will most likely cover 9. I think there's a real chance he could start too with Harry Grant going to the bench. We know the stats around Harry Grant in Origin games when he's starting. They're 0-7 now. Off the bench, they are, I think it was 6 from 7 or whatever it was. It was something along those lines. Random Stats guy posted it a few weeks ago. But they have a much more better record with Harry Grant coming off the bench rather than starting. Maybe Kurt Mann starts the game, bashes out the first 20 minutes, and then you see Harry Grant come into the contest and Mann move into 13. But, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. What else have we not talked about? The Ezra Mam selection. Obviously, that's going to turn a few heads. I think we need to stop kicking a dead horse and just, move on with it. Ezra Mam, in the footy that he's played this year, he has been good. He's been really, really solid in the 3 or 4 games that he's been back. He has been really, really in some pretty decent form. He's been setting up tries, playing good footy. I think that when you look at that alone, you're not looking at, obviously, the suspension. You're not looking at anything else. You're looking purely at the footy that he's played this year, Ezra Mam. I'd certainly be backing him to play State of Origin or be in that arena, and I think he's played good enough footy to be in that arena. Looking at, obviously, what's happened off-field, it would obviously rub a few people the wrong way. I don't think Billy Slater really cares about that. I think he just cares about Origin and preparing guys for the future of Origin as well. Ezra Mam's realistically going to be a guy that's in that arena in the future. I think you've really got to look at that as well. So it does make sense that he'd be in this side. He has been declared as the official 18th man, which I think is huge. If someone goes down in this game, he's the guy to come in. Again, if he does walk onto the field, it will rub a few people the wrong way. Totally understanding of that. I think people, as I said, though, they just need to stop kicking a dead horse. Move on with Ezra Mam. Let him move on and play his footy as well. He's made a mistake. It's a pretty big mistake, but he's made a mistake. It's not his fault that he wasn't punished accordingly for the actions off the field by the NRL and by the Queensland government. That's their faults for not punishing him at the substantial length that we thought he was going to get punished for those actions. He's back. He's playing footy. It's not his fault. And I think that people need to sort of look past that and I guess look at him as the future of Queensland, and that's exactly what Billy's looking at him as, the future of Queensland. They're picking him in this squad for the experience. That's what this selection reads to me. So, Ezra Mam, congratulations to him for getting picked there for Queensland. And, yeah, look, I can't wait to see him in the future because he's a very talented player and I'm sure he'll do well in that arena. And I do think as well, like, the Ezra Mam chat, I think it has overshadowed, the fact that Jack Howarth's been picked, the fact that Corey Horsburgh's in this reserves list as well, the fact that the name Ezra Mam is in this team list. It's rubbed a few people the wrong way. It's what a lot of people are talking about. Not so much for Corey Horsburgh because there is a talking point of the fact that he's been snubbed from this 17. But I think that Jack Howarth, it's such an amazing thing that we're looking at a guy that was struggling to find a spot in this Melbourne Storm side for the past, I guess, 3 years. It was touted as the next big thing. He was playing plenty of Queensland Cup. He was signed on a mammoth deal at the Melbourne Storm and not playing first grade, and everyone was criticising Craig Bellamy for it. He comes in, has a little bit of a rough start, but after a few games starts killing it. He's now playing consistent first grade since last year in the centres and absolutely playing outstanding lights-out footy. And now he gets a spot in the Queensland squad, and I think you've got to look at that and applaud it. I think that a guy that, as I said, 2 years ago was playing Queensland Cup at lock, is now playing in the centres in first grade for the Melbourne Storm, and it's earned himself a spot in the Queensland extended squad. He'll be a guy that's in this arena in the future as well. I think that he could be the next guy up for Val Holmes in that left centre spot if Hammer does end up going to the wing. And I think that Billy Slater would be looking at him in that way as well. So congratulations to Jack Howarth. Let's touch on the much better side, New South Wales, and in regards to, I guess, a few of their selections as well. For New South Wales, we have got Dylan Edwards at fullback. We've got Brian Toto and Zach Lomax on the wings, Stephen Crichton and Latrell Mitchell in the centres, Mitch Moses and Nathan Cleary in the halves, Maxi King and Payne Haas in the front row, Reece Robson at 9. We've got Liam Martin and Angus Crichton in the back row, Isaiah Yeo at 13, Connor Watson, Spencer Leniu, Hudson Young and Stefano Ikamanu on the bench. The reserves are Matt Burton as the 18th man, joined by Keaon Koloamatangi and Lindsay Smith. The big in there, Lindsay Smith. So Hamole Olakawatu was the initial leak to be in that side in jersey number 20. He found out that his partner is set to give birth this week, so he's been ruled out of Origin duties yet again. Obviously, last time he pulled himself out to play for Manly. This time it's obviously since his partner is set to give birth at some stage this week. Congratulations to him. But great opportunity for Lindsay Smith. He gets an opportunity to come into this side. Into this squad, and again, he's another guy that's going to be the future for New South Wales in this pack. Great starting front rower, has been outstanding for Penrith this year. I think that he's a guy that not many people were talking about when we were looking at a replacement for Mitch Barnett. We weren't talking about Lindsay Smith, and I think that it's probably at our detriment because he's been outstanding this year. He's even a guy that I sort of overlooked with Terrell May being available, Keaon Koloamatangi in his form. Obviously Max King as well, moving into that role. Stefano's been playing well for Melbourne. We sort of really didn't look at a Lindsay Smith, but he has been playing very well for Penrith. And as I said, he's going to be the future of this pack. So really great to see him in this extended squad. Keaon, for me, should have without a doubt been picked over Stefano. Love Stefano, been doing well for Melbourne. I think Keaon's been arguably the informed front rower for the past 3 weeks. To ignore that, well, not to ignore it because he's in the squad, but to not have him in the 17 there. I know that Craig Bellamy's obviously in, I guess, the room as well for New South Wales. He's the advisory over a guy like Laurie Daly, so he'd have a say on the team as well. And I guess you got to look at that when obviously looking at this 17. But I think that Keaon, as I said, has been the informed front rower of the competition the last 3 weeks. It was pretty harsh to leave him out of this 17, even though he's in the squad, and I love the fact that he's in the squad, and he deserves to be in the squad. He deserves to be in the 17, and I'd have him there over Stefano. But Stefano, I think he is going to do a good job. Just off the back of his most recent performance, I think that would have definitely turned Laurie the right way in regards to putting him in this 17. So congratulations to Stefano on making this outfit. Pretty similar side, though, for New South Wales. Max King moves into the starting side, played 40 minutes. I think it was inevitable we were going to see him move into this starting team with Mitch Barnett obviously being ruled out. And even if he wasn't, you might have seen Max King in a starting jersey for Game 2, even though you don't really want to change too much. Max King played a big role in Game 1. Laurie Daly in the presser was very impressed with Max King and just his efforts. And so was I, to be honest, watching that game. Max King was outstanding, handled himself extremely well. So congratulations to him on moving into that starting team. Debuting in the last game, now in the starting side for New South Wales. That is huge for Max King, particularly where he was, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where he was struggling to make first grade, got let go by the Titans, didn't have a club while he was battling from this foot injury, and now a few years later he's playing State of Origin footy, and now he's starting for the Blues. It's great to see there for Max King. Other changes for New South Wales or other things to talk about. Matt Burton's obviously the 18th man. Great to see. I mean, not so much for the Bulldogs because they had Kurt Mann at 18th man in the last one. Now they've got Matt Burton as 18th man in this one. Obviously, they've been struggling with Burton as 18th man for the past few years. But he is literally the perfect 18th man. Other than Connor Watson, who would be great in that sort of spot as well. You got Matt Burton, who can come in and play a lot of roles for you. Fullback, 5'8", halfback. He can slot in the centres. He can play a bit of a roaming role. He can come on in an edge back row spot at a pinch. He can play a little bit of hooker at a pinch. He can come on in a number of different roles for New South Wales. So having that type of coverage, I think is great for this Blues team. Love the Matt Burton selection. Deserves to be in the squad. He deserved to be in the squad in Game 1, in my opinion. And he's going to do a very good job if, shit hits the fan and he has to come into the game. I think that he'll do a great job for New South Wales. that's pretty much it. I talked about Lindsay Smith, talked about Stefano, talked about Max King and Matt Burton. That's pretty much it there for New South Wales. We'll get into combos and things like that in the preview, guys. But if you enjoyed that content, make sure to click below, and subscribe to Big LEZ'S League. Plenty of Origin content coming your way. Obviously going to be a little bit more consistent with the YouTube content, getting the drawing board out week to week. The Supercoach content there. Breaking Bread is also coming out with myself and Isaac Izza. It'll just be Isaac Izzo this week. If we get an episode out, I'll be unavailable. Still not 100%. You could probably hear it a little bit in my voice. But make sure to subscribe, become a part of the Big LEZ'S League community. Plenty of content coming for the rest of the year, so stay tuned and don't miss out.